Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. Most of us probably think about Jim Hall comping Bill Evans when we hear the term harmonized bass lines. And that is a really great example of how you can use this type of comping, and it's also being used in a duo setting where it is especially effective because it's a nice way of having sort of a full comping sound that's really laying down the groove. In this video I'm going to show you how you can get started working with making your own harmonized bass lines. I'm going to do that by giving you an example that's a blues, a 12-bar blues in B flat. And I'm also going to give you some exercises that are really good to build the vocabulary that you need if you want to make your own harmonized bass lines. And of course, the example on the blues also contains a lot of really useful standard solutions that you want to have in your system for when you're playing a standard or other jazz originals. Like Jim Hall, I mostly use the harmonized bass lines when I'm playing in a duo setting. That's where it's really effective, but there is also a nice thing to have in your vocabulary, and you can also just change things up so you can play one song with a walking bass and chords and another one with a harmonized bass line. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, improve the way that you solo, check out some interesting arpeggios or chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. Most of the voicings that I'm using in this 12-bar blues are shell voicings, and that is the most important type of voicing when it comes to harmonized bass lines. So before I start breaking down the blues example, I just want to go over the shell voicings. A shell voicing is a 3-note chord. It consists of the root, the third and the seventh. And the way that we use them in jazz, we place the chord parts of the third and the seventh on the middle strings, so on the D and the G. And then the root can be either on the 6th string or on the 5th string. A B flat 7 would have here in this part of the neck would be the root on the 6th string, and then 7 and 3rd on the middle string set. Now since this blues is in B flat, then I'm going to use E flat major, where B flat 7 is coming from, or you can also think of that as being B flat mixolydian for my shell voicings here. I'm just going to go over the diatonic shell voicings. So just basically for each note in the scale I'm going to give you a shell voicing. For the ones with the root on the 6th string, that would be this. Now notice here that the D half diminished is of course it's a D minor chord, and then it's defined by also having a flat 5, but our shell voicing doesn't actually have a 5th, so we can't tell the difference between the D half diminished and the D minor 7 in this case, because the C minor, which is a C minor 7, looks exactly the same as the D half diminished, simply because the flat 5, so the A flat, is not in the chord. The string set where we have the root on the 5th, the first bar sounds like this. So here we first just have the B flat 7 shell voicing here, and then actually I'm getting 3 voicings that I didn't talk about yet, but these are just triad inversions. So this is a standard bass line that you're going to come across really a lot in the blues, which is just like root and then up to the 9th, the flat 3rd and then the 3rd, and it's just leading us up to the 4th degree in bar 2, to the E flat. So that's really all that's happening here, is that we're just playing first the B flat, and then we have all these voicings that are all pointing to the next chord. It's really useful to also know the open voice triads as inversions here, and that can be useful because you're going to come across, of course, this one, and once in a while you're also going to have the other one, so you can have the like a B flat major triad would be this, and then first inversion would be this, and the second inversion would be this. So here I'm again just because I want to have the sound consistent, the chord is kind of kept on the middle strings, which means that this is a bit of a stretch, and then the bass note on the 6th string. The second bar sounds like this. here I'm using something that's a standard solution that you really want to have in your system also, because it's an easy way to just play one bar of pretty much any chord that you want to play. The idea here is that I'm first just playing the E flat 7, because that's the chord that's there in the song. Then I'm moving down a half step, and then back up on the third beat. So this is just a way of creating a simple bass line with chords that's gonna sort of stay on the E flat 7 and make that really clear. Then I have the B7. The B7 is just there as a leading chord to take me to B flat. So when you're making harmonized bass lines, you want to think ahead, and you want to, at least on the 4, but sometimes even earlier, think about what chord you're going to and already know in advance which voicing you're going to use. So in this case I'm playing the B7, and it's going to take me down to B flat 7 like this. And then bar 3 sounds like this. So here I'm just playing, I just have a bar of B flat 7, and the way I chose to harmonize that this time is the bass line is, and the way I would harmonize this is then first with the B flat 7, then the D minor 7, which you could also consider, since it's in the key of E flat major, or in B flat 7, then it's a D half diminished maybe, but we don't have the 5th in there. And then an F minor 7 that I'm really just using to get to the chord in the next bar. And I'm moving up to an F sharp minor 7 or G flat minor 7. And then in the next bar we have F minor, which was the one that I was aiming for. And then from there, so here's another standard solution that you also want to be aware of. You're going to see it come back actually a few times also in my example here. So I have a 1 bar 2-5 progression, so the chords here are just F minor to B flat 7, and then I'm first just playing the F minor, then I'm playing a tritone dominant for the 5 chord, so that's a B7 that then moves down to B flat 7, and then a tritone substitution again to E7 because I'm going to E flat 7. The main reason that I can keep on publishing videos every week is that I have a community of people over on Patreon that are supporting the channel and helping me making videos. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page and join us over on Patreon, and maybe I can give you something in return for your support. Bar 5 is another example of where I'm taking just the basic chord, so the E flat 7, moving it down a half step, then back up. And then now I need to go to an E diminished, so the way I'm doing that is by playing an E flat diminished, and then moving up to the E diminished in bar 6, and then the same idea, just down a half step, back up, and then a B7 to take me back to B flat 7, and then in bar 6, B flat 7, then a similar walk up as I had in bar 3, so B flat 7, D minor or D half diminished up to F minor, and now I need to go down to a D half diminished chord in bar 8, so I add an E flat minor 7 as a leading chord there, so we have, and then down to the D half diminished or D minor 7, and then also again similar to what I had in bar 4, it's a 2-5, so first the 2 chord, tritone substitution to take me to the dominant, down on the dominant, and then another tritone substitution to resolve. And of course this is a 2-5 to C minor, so it's a D flat 7, and then it goes down to C minor. Now on the C minor chord I'm actually just walking up the scale, which is also just a fairly logical bass line. And then a leading note to take me to the 5. This is also a very common bass line for just playing like playing a walking bass and chords together, and that works just as well for harmonized bass lines. So C minor, D minor, E flat major 7, E7 as a leading chord up to F7, and here again we get the solution with moving with the leading chord, so F7, E7, F7, and then B7 to take us down to B flat, and then the final turnaround, so B flat 7, and then a leading chord, which is in this case then an A flat 7 down to G7, and D flat 7 down to C minor, and G flat 7, and then F7, B7, and then down to B flat 7. If you want to check out some more videos on comping in a duo, then check out this playlist where I have a few videos on chords and walking bass and bossa nova, all stuff that works really well in a duo setting. If this is the first time you see one of my videos and you want to learn more about jazz guitar, then subscribe to my channel. These are the kind of videos that I publish every week. And of course, if you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.